The Trump administration's new $100,000 fee on H-1B foreign worker visas could have ripple effects on the United States' innovation ecosystem. India's IT industry body NASSCOM warned on Saturday. A White House official said Saturday the new fee structure will first apply to the upcoming H-1B lottery cycle for new applicants, and not to current visa holders or to renewals. The change, which goes into effect on Sunday, marks Washington's highest-profile attempt to overhaul the country's temporary employment visa system. It's a major flashpoint with the tech industry, which contributed millions of dollars to Donald Trump's presidential campaign and relies heavily on skilled workers from India and China. The fee announced on Friday prompted some major U.S. tech firms to advise visa holders to either remain in the country or return before it takes effect. Trump on Friday played down their concerns.
I think they're going to be very happy. Everyone's going to be happy. And we're going to be able to keep people in our country that are going to be very productive people. And in many cases, these companies are going to pay a lot of money for that. And they're very happy about it.
Supporters of the H-1B program say it brings in highly skilled workers essential to filling talent gaps and keeping firms competitive. Critics, who include many U.S. tech workers, argue that it will allow firms to suppress wages and sideline Americans who could do the jobs. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick.
If you're going to train somebody, you're going to train one of the recent graduates from one of the great universities across our land. Train Americans, stop bringing in people to take our jobs. That's the policy.
Under the current system, a small fee is required to enter a lottery for the visa, and subsequent fees could amount to several $1,000s. Representing India's $283 billion IT and business process outsourcing industry, NASSCOM warned on Saturday of disruptions. It said the fee could hit the global operations of Indian tech services companies that send skilled professionals to the U.S., adding that the one-day deadline for the new policy created considerable uncertainty for businesses, professionals, and students across the world.
تحذير عاجل إلى سكان مدينة غزة وأحيائها. معظم المدينة قد تم بعرفك
يا عرض على عائلتكم.
I woke up to a loud explosion and was covered in shattered glass from the broken windows. I grabbed my child, who was also covered in glass.
A British couple detained by the Taliban in Afghanistan since February have been reunited with their family in Qatar. 76-year-old Barbie Reynolds and her 80-year-old husband Peter were freed on Friday after months of Qatari mediation, an official source told Reuters. Afghanistan's foreign ministry posted on X that the couple had violated Afghan laws without giving details. A ministry spokesperson told the media in Kabul that the two had done their time and were returning to their homeland, adding that the government does not view their release as a political or military act.
So this is a great...
Britain's special envoy to Afghanistan, Richard Lindsay, thanked Qatar for its support in the ordeal.
We're delighted that they are going to be able to be reunited with their loved ones, their families, and very, very grateful indeed for the support we've had from the government of Qatar to secure their release.
Before leaving Kabul, Barbie Reynolds said she and her husband were Afghan citizens and would return, quote, if we can. For now, though, she said she was looking forward to seeing our children, our family again. Qatar negotiated with Taliban authorities for several months in coordination with Britain and the couple's family. That's according to the Reuters source, who also said the Qatari embassy in Kabul made critical arrangements, such as for access to their doctor, medication, and communication with their family. A BBC report cited one official as saying the Reynolds were arrested after using a plane without informing authorities. It said they had lived in Afghanistan for 18 years, running a charity program approved by the Taliban when it took power in 2021. Western countries, including Britain and the United States, shut their embassies then. Qatar has since worked to release foreigners detained in Afghanistan and has helped to free at least 3 Americans this year.
Right now we're seeing this moment where the federal government is pushing forward anti-people, anti-climate, anti-indigenous, anti-migrant agendas. Every law that Carney has put into place since now is about enriching the CEOs and hurting a common people. He's arming Israel, he's pushing people against migrants, and we're saying no to that. We are drawing the line.
We are now at code red on the planet Earth. Humanity is unequivocally facing a climate emergency. And what we're here to say is stop all of the political, the economic stuff, and the legal stuff. We are in an emergency, and we've got to act as it is an emergency.
Shares of FedEx jumped Friday morning after the delivery company surprised Wall Street with first quarter results that beat expectations, fueled by strong domestic deliveries and cost cutting. The parcel giant has leaned on efficiency measures and tighter cost controls, including parking planes, closing facilities, and merging units, as it works to slash billions of dollars from its balance sheet. Overall average daily volumes rose 4% in the quarter, as strong summer holiday demand lifted U.S. parcels, countering a 3% drop in international exports, and revenue per package climbed 2%. The good news comes on the heels of FedEx ending its 2-decade partnership with the U.S. Postal Service last year, a contract that had consistently weighed on earnings, with high costs and thin margins.
JM Video is one of only 2 remaining DVD rental stores in Paris.
I tell you what, man, just really nice being in here.
Loved by cinephiles, the shop hosted Hollywood stars including Brad Pitt, Cillian Murphy, and director Christopher Nolan.
Dunkirk, actually.
But the ever-growing competition of streaming platforms like Amazon Prime and Disney Plus is posing an immense challenge to the store, as well as sky-high property rents and a shrinking customer base. It still has its devotees. Virginie Breton rents DVDs several times a week.
It's one of the only places in Paris where there's a real film collection. You can do verticals, you can do real research. You can find things that can't be found anywhere else, and personally, I didn't want to switch to a streaming platform. It doesn't interest me. I don't have a subscription, and I'm a film buff.
Mes soirées sont... Et je suis cinéphile.
Founded in 1982, it was one of the thousands of video rental stores in France at the end of the last century.
De toute façon, on est une exception, on est l'un des deux.
Store manager Théo Bansilon said, now there are only about 10 DVD rental shops in the country, 2 of which are in Paris. JM Video has a library of more than 50,000 films. That's more than some 5,000 on offer at any time on Netflix. But it's not enough to keep the store afloat. Bansilon said JM Video is struggling to pay rent and the salaries for its 3 employees. This month, it launched a crowdfunding call to secure its immediate future. Despite the challenges, some customers like Matthias Wiedier still support the concept of DVD rentals.
Je trouve que c'est une meilleure manière aussi de faire vivre un film.
Actually, I think it's also a better way to bring a film to life, to bring the work to life itself, to be able to own the object. Well, I think there's something about it. There's more value to the object than just on a web page, being able to lend it to friends. It's a better guarantee, I think, to support the work, rather than on platforms.
Plutôt que sur les plateformes, quoi.
Syria's civil war is over, but the 2 largest armed camps in the country are still facing off across the Euphrates River. One side is under the control of the Damascus government and the new Syrian military, and is dominated by Islamist former rebel factions. The other side are the forces of a region run by Kurds. Caught in the middle of this emerging divide are ordinary Syrians who've suffered through years of conflict, including an Islamic State insurgency. They worry that new violence could push the country back into conflict at any moment. I travelled 1,100 miles across this divide with a group of Reuters journalists over the summer to understand the relationship between these 2 sides. What we found was a lawless frontier, armed groups ready to settle scores, local tensions that threaten unity, and militants prepared to kill each other before giving ground. Earlier this month, President Ahmed al-Sharaa told Syrian state television that negotiations had stalled and that he was doing everything possible to avoid a war. Privately, Syrian government officials accused the Kurdish side of trying to buy time and keep their de facto autonomous region. The Euphrates is the main physical divide between these 2 armed camps. On the western bank you have the new Syrian army, which consists of Islamist former rebel factions. These groups control areas mostly to the west of the Euphrates, including all of Syria's major cities and its coastline on the Mediterranean. To the east of the river, Kurdish-led forces control roughly a third of the country. That third is remote, but it's important because it holds hydroelectric dams which help power Syria and oil wealth which will be essential to its future. Both sides have tens of thousands of fighters who have been armed, trained and funded at different points during the Syrian civil war by the United States and its allies. To see firsthand the impact of this rivalry on ordinary Syrians, we travelled to this camp in the city of Tابعوا on the Euphrates. It's populated by Kurds who were displaced by fighting between Kurdish forces and rebel factions that now make up part of the Syrian military. Most people in the camp said that they didn't feel comfortable going back to areas now under Syrian government control. But we also met some others in Kurdish-run territory who are beginning to resent the local authorities. We travelled to some Arab-majority areas under Kurdish control, including the city of Raqqa, which was Islamic State's Syrian capital. We met residents there who complained that the security forces are using the ongoing threat of Islamic State attacks to crack down on local activism. We found concrete evidence of the Kurdish side preparing for the worst when we travelled to the hills around the Tishreen Dam in northern Syria. We found that workmen had been digging new tunnels in the hills for fighters to shelter from potential attacks by Turkish warplanes or by the Syrian army. We went into the tunnels while the workmen took a break, and we found that even though they were in their early stages, they already extend a couple of hundred feet into the mountainside. They're high and wide enough for somebody to walk down comfortably. The tunnels were cool and damp and being dug with picks and shovels. This commander, Mu'tasim Abbas, leads a Turkish-backed faction that has fought against Kurdish forces before. Abbas has fought almost all his adult life and was calm and measured. He told us the Assad regime and Islamic State were always worse enemies than the Kurds, but that now the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces were the main focus. We also visited Deir ez-Zor, one of Syria's most heavily destroyed and neglected cities. It's also divided exactly by the river between these two sides. This dirt bridge is the only thing that links the two halves of Deir ez-Zor. Militants from each side guard either end of the bridge. When we crossed it, it was tense. Fighters were trying to control a crowd that wanted to get from one side to the other and had their guns loaded and ready to fire. Since then, there have been a number of gun battles across the river that have wounded several civilians and several fighters. We met the commander for Deir ez-Zor in the new Syrian army, who believes that all Arab majority areas under Kurdish control should be taken back, including his own village. We also spoke to a commander in the Kurdish women's forces. She told me that no peace deal with the Damascus government would be possible as long as Turkish-backed commanders hold senior positions in the Syrian military. Away from the front lines, I met negotiators from both sides. They're meant to find a way to make peace and to unite the two armed camps, but they also don't trust each other. Kurdish negotiator Fawza Yusuf worried that under the Damascus government, women and minority rights might not be guaranteed. One of her opposite numbers on the Damascus team said that the Kurds were deliberately holding on to oil and land that belonged to the Syrian government. So what are the possible outcomes? They include the two sides uniting under one Syrian government. They include a de facto partition that will persist, and they include the possibility of conflict spilling over. But whatever happens, it's ordinary Syrians who have to live under warlords, foreign interference, and who are struggling to rebuild their lives.